Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We are taking both of the Dokkan Fest Gammas, Gamma 1 and 2, into Red Zone. This time, not starting with what I would consider the easiest Red Zone boss, which would have been a Mega Shenron. I'm starting, to be fair, with one of the hardest, which is Meta Cooler Core. So, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know down in the comments if you did pull for the Gammas. How have you been finding them? Off of literally using them from their showcase and now using them in Red Zone and ESPR, mustn't forget that, I've been having a lot of fun using them. Not only are they both very, very good, but again, that novelty of finally having some premium, like, summonable Dragon Ball Super superhero units. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, in general, they are fun units to use. And they are very, very good, but it's nice to have some superhero content that, like this. I can't wait for Beast Gohan to drop, man, because it's going to be a hype day. It's going to be a good day. But yeah, we took them in against Cooler Core. Of course, the first phase is the usual. You just need to survive. And considering the first phase, it can catch you off guard depending on the unit, if the unit needs to build up stack, for example. But the first phase is pretty much survive. And the damage the Cooler Army can do compared to Cooler Core is obviously considerably quite a bit less. So this actually worked in the Gamma's favors, especially because they didn't actually start on the same rotation. That's kind of the only annoying thing about the Gammas, and it's not even their fault. It's you want them both on the same rotation as quick as possible. But I mean, that kind of applies to a lot of units in the game anyway, or like typical partners. For example, one that we have on this run as well is Tech Easy God Goku with the Year 7 gods. But typically, obviously, you want them together on the same rotation as quick as possible. But the fact that this is nowhere near as hard hitting as the Cooler Core phase, and your main thing is to survive, it kind of works in the Gamma's favor, especially Gamma 1. Now, of course, both of them need to be built up. So, of course, what did we do? We put Gamma 1 in slot 1. And as I said during the showcase, as I said when they were dropping, Gamma 1 in Red Zone is going to build up his passive so quickly that you're pretty much going to have it done for the majority of the time. Turn 1, that's a push. Turn 3, the second time he comes around off like the first attack. Because of the amount of attacks that are in this phase and that are just in Red Zone in general, as soon as I put him in slot 1, because there were so many attacks, of course he has the entrance animation where he has 4 turns of God, so that means he's tanking Cooler Army pretty much for next to nothing already, especially compared to other units that are on the team. A lot of other units in the game, to be honest. Other than like one attack where he builds up some of his extra attack and defense and damage reduction, combined with the 4-turn God, he immediately starts tanking for double digits. Yes, he's got a little bit extra defense because of the one dupe, but in general, off of one attack, even prior to him supering, prior to raising his attack and defense by 30%, he's tanking double digits prior to him supering off of one attack, which is great. As I said, the main goal of the Cooler Army phase is to just survive, and of course, Gamma 1 is going to allow you to do that. Because I said, he doesn't really take any damage off an initial basic attack he takes anyway, prior to him supering. Like, he may take like a couple thousand, maybe just over 10k max, which again, compared to a lot of other units in the game, that's nothing, especially on this phase. And then off of one attack, off of building up his attack and defense and his damage reduction with the guard, he's tanking double digits prior to super, which, as I said, works perfectly for you to try and survive. That's exactly what you want to do. And the other part is, because you're forced to survive this for 3 turns, which is also a downside in itself, because of course you want to utilize his guard for as long as possible during those 4 turns, you know, and then since you're forced to be 3 turns in there, you're going to lose your guard 1 turn after being within the Cooler Core phase, which, I'm not going to lie, is a little bit annoying, but, you know, it's kind of to be expected, so, you know, it's not really too bad. Not to mention, he also has type advantage on this phase, so that does kind of help a lot as well. But because you're forced to kind of survive the first phase, you can build up the Gammas and pretty much have them ready, have them prepped for this second phase where, of course, shit gets real. Cooler Core starts doing some insane damage. It's pretty much kill or be killed at this point. I mean, Red Zone's like that anyway, but it's kill or be killed. So, you know, being in the first phase against Cooler Army where you need to survive, building up Gamma 1 literally is just no problem at all. And you'll most of the time, as I said, have it done by turn 1. Gamma 2 is a little bit different. Of course, he'll have the 2 built-in additionals for 4 turns after the entrance animation, which again, depending on how lucky you are with RNG, especially with potentially having a dupe, you could potentially do that very quickly, you know, round about, you know, the first attack off for turn 2. But it definitely won't be a turn 1 kind of thing. But you can still build him up relatively quickly, which again also helps him kind of survive the first phase. So of course that's the goal. The main thing is you can build them up relatively quickly because you're forced to be in the first phase for 3 turns. You can build them up and have them ready by the time when this red zone stage starts to really step up into 3rd gear and get incredibly difficult against Cooler Core, which is very nice. I said the only downside is, and it kind of applies to both of them, is you only really have 1 turn to utilize Gamma 1's guard and then Gamma 2's 2 built-in additionals for 1 turn against Cooler Core, which is a shame. But as I said, it does also help on the flip side that you get to build them up prior to being in here. And they done exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. Now, of course, again, Gamma 1 has a major advantage, literally having type advantage against Cooler Core. So him losing his guard wasn't as bad as it would be if it was, for example, against a Mega Shenron's final phase, or more so Broly, where he has type disadvantage. So at this point, and he's even on a 170 lead, they're performing on a 170 lead during here. I know there's not much of a difference between the 170 lead and 200%, but even so, they are performing exceptionally well, even on a 170 lead. They're giving each other their you know, both of their supports are coming off. They're supporting each other, giving themselves ki, which they don't really need in whoever's in slot 3, which is quite nice. But more importantly, one's giving, you know, they're giving each other attack, giving each other defense. You know, one of the other is doing one of each, of course. They've done really well, even on a 170 lead. That type of advantage from Gamma 1, as I said, does play a major part, but the fact that even on a 170 lead, he has almost 400k defense, along with having 50% damage reduction. And again, that all-important type advantage means Gamma 1 took no damage, pretty much no damage whatsoever against Cooler Core. Especially after he supers, where again he has type advantage, so he's going to do some extra damage. I also have a dupe, so additionals were possible, which for some reason he never got, even though I do have a dupe. And of course crits to do even more damage, but he was doing some good damage because of the type advantage. Once Gamma 2 gets going, even at 55%, he can actually do some major damage, especially with the additional, the built-in crit chance as well. He was popping off. Defensively, after a super with an item, he tanks double digits. I think even without an item, if I remember rightly. Actually, I don't think he got hit without an item, or he potentially did in 1 turn, like once. But either way, as long as he supers, raises his defense, him taking a basic will be fine. I'm not entirely sure how much damage he would take exactly. It probably won't be double digits at 55%, but it's not where you're gonna have to worry about him, because he has, like, even on a 170 lead, near like 300k defense. And while that's not enough, raising his defense by 30% or attack and defense on super means he'll either still take double digits on a basic or a little bit more than that, but nothing where you're gonna have to worry about it. And one thing that these two have, which again now you can utilize in red zone, which is perfect, is of course Gamma 1 has his dodge, which I'm pretty sure is for unarmed super attacks, which I think Cooler Core does. If he doesn't, that's why he didn't do it. And if he does and Gamma 1 can dodge it, then of course, even though you're not really going to take any damage there, you can still have the potential to dodge it. And then of course, more importantly for the not so safe unit as Gamma 1, Gamma 2 has his nullification, which of course means all that damage Cooler Core could potentially do on a super attack, which unfortunately we didn't actually get to utilize here, but it is definitely something that is nice to have in your arsenal. If Cooler Core supers Gamma 2, of course that means that super attack that would have done probably insane amounts of damage. I mean, would he have survived it? Probably not. I don't think one super attack where he raises his attack and defense by 30% on a 170 lead, even on a 200%, would be near enough to survive a Cooler Core super, because not many can do it. But the important thing is, and such a great tool to have in your arsenal with him, is he'll nullify it, and of course you take 0 damage. So while he's dishing out some good damage, especially with the built-in additional, the crit chance after you've built up, he's doing some decent damage, especially if the additional's popping off as well, along with the crit. Gamma 1's doing good damage because of the type advantage and tanking literally everything for nothing. He didn't get supered, but even if he got supered, 50% damage reduction, almost 400k defense with type advantage, he would have tanked that very, very well. And again, you also have the counter as a possibility as well. But more importantly, for the not so defensive unit out of the two, Gamma 2 has his nullification, which means, yeah, the super attack that probably would have killed him, he could potentially nullify it, which is great, as I said, while doing some great damage. But they done really, really well here. Like, really, really well. And one of the major things that's so good about them, yes, they're only on a 170 lead if you decide to run the gods or just another movie heroes leads, but they are surrounded by such good units. You know, you're looking at both year 7 units who are amazing for red zone because of how much damage they do. Easy A-Tech God Goku, so that means on each rotation, there is a slot 1 unit that can tank very well. And even Birdku, who's going to be tanking on, and did tank amazingly well in slot 3, where you literally don't really have to worry about dying unless the gods don't dodge or don't get additionals, and SSJ4s don't do the same either. So they popped off here. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next video, guys, and peace!